You're listening to KICKASS Radio for KICKASS People, the show where we interview awesome people who have achieved tremendous success in their lives. Our guests will share with you their story and 5 tips you can implement for living your kick-ass life. Now for our host, Christopher Roush.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Live here from our studios in Southern California. Welcome to the KICKASS Radio Show. I am your host, Christopher Roush, and I want to let you know you're at your place for motivation, inspiration, and education. I am the creator of the Kick-Ass Guide to Life and want to welcome you all to our show today. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you. People ask me what is the Kick-Ass Guide to Life and what is it about anyway? And what I've done is I've created that and I've created this show to help you create an unstoppable attitude for your personal and professional success. What does that mean, Chris? What does it mean to have an unstoppable attitude? Well, think of it like a Mack truck rolling down the road, barreling over everything it sees, pushing everything out of its way in order to achieve what it wants to complete, what it wants to get to, its ultimate destination. That's what I'm about. Unstoppable attitude is where you get fired up, you get energized, you get that inner confidence that just says, I can do anything. I can put my mind and achieve anything I want to do. And that's what I do here. I mean, people claim that I'm a little enthusiastic, and I am, because I believe that everybody has the power within them to create a kick-ass life. And that's why I'm doing this. So we're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as you know, if you're with the show, if you're new to the show, I interview one kick-ass person every single week who comes on and shares at least 5 tips that you can begin using immediately in your life to have a better life. And this is both personal and professional. This is what we talk about. So we talk about overcoming fear, ending procrastination, setting and achieving goals, relationship, leadership, and all sorts of other kick-ass stuff. And again, just to build your self-confidence so that you walk out the door tomorrow thinking differently about your own life. If you want more information about the Kick-Ass Guide to Life or me, you can head over to ChristopherRoush.com. The last name is R-A-U-S-C-H, Roush, ChristopherRoush.com, and find out more information about me. And what I also encourage you, we've been on the air for over a year. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. We've got 53 or 54 shows under our belt, and that means we've interviewed 53 different eclectic personalities that have been on the show that have talked about a wide range of different topics. We've talked about crowdfunding. We've talked about bullying in schools. We've talked about exceeding your customers' expectations. We've talked about negotiation. We've talked about igniting your inner relationships. We've talked about the truths to financial wisdom. We've talked about, we had Larry Wingett on the show who talked about his best-selling book, Grow a Pair. We've talked about breaking limiting beliefs. We have talked about a whole bunch of stuff. All of the shows are archived on iTunes, so you can easily get these shows for free. If you go to iTunes and you search Kick-Ass Guide to Life or the Kick-Ass Radio Show, you can go ahead and you can find the shows there. So I encourage you to go back and listen to them. And like I'm going to tell you tonight, if you're listening live and you're not driving, make sure you have a pen and paper that you're ready to write notes, because this is a participatory time for you this next hour as we talk about what it takes to have a kick-ass life. So I really encourage you to take down some notes, because you want to create action items and just really put this stuff into play. If you'd like to call into the show tonight, the number is 646-378-1582. Again, the show number is 646-378-1582. That's if you want to call in and ask me a question, ask my guest a question. If you're a little shy, you can actually email us at info@thekickassradioshow.com. If you know me on Facebook, you can go ahead and send me a message there and ask me a question there. We get questions all sorts of different ways. So I really encourage you to do that. And just a couple of quick programming notes. For those of you guys that are longtime listeners, I'm doing a webinar Wednesday night. It's all about goal setting and achieving. If you're interested in getting onto that webinar, it's a free webinar. You can sign up at my website, ChristopherRoush.com. It's on the About page, and you also get a free download. So if you want a free webinar tomorrow night or Wednesday night at 7 p.m., all about goal setting and achievement, we're going to dig deep into the real goals that you want to set and achieve. Not just, I want to make more money or I want to lose 10 pounds. We're going to talk about the deep part of goal setting. So, again, if you want to go over there, sign up at ChristopherRoush.com. And also while you're there, if you're here in Southern California, if you like to travel to Southern California, I've got my live Bootcamp event coming up here May 3rd and 4th. You can find out all the details right there. And because you're a kick-ass person listening to this show, I'm going to share with you a little discount. And this is just for you guys. If you're serious about coming to my event, enter the coupon code ROCKSTAR and you will get $100 off either one of the tickets, either the general admission ticket or the VIP experience. $100 off because you're a kick-ass person listening to the show tonight. So do me a favor, go head over there after the show. But meanwhile, what we're going to talk about is last week's guest. We had Andrew Carlson. He was an amazing guest, a young guy, and I want you to go back and listen to the show because he talks about how he was shocked over 20 times by a defibrillator and still lived to tell about it. And he's not an old person. So, and then what's interesting about the story is what he was doing when it happened. So I encourage you to go back and listen to that show. He's an authentic dude. He's got a straight-up message for how you can live your kick-ass life. He and I share a lot of the same beliefs about what it takes, which was really cool to find a younger person that's, and I hate saying that because it sounds dated. I found me a youngin'. I found me a young wife, that's for sure. Hi, Barbara. So we just talked about what it takes to, learn from your mistakes, how to have compelling drivers in your life to achieve your goals. So again, I really encourage you to go back and listen to these shows because it's just great information. And the best part is it's free if you listen to those Larry commercials. All right, enough of that stuff. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, my guest comes to you all the way from the country of India, where it is 6 a.m. in the morning. This guy is awesome. He's super kick-ass. His name is Bishal Sarkar, and he's also known as the Excellence Guy. And I like that. I like people that hold themselves to a higher standard. He's the author of the top-selling book, I Love Public Speaking, How to Communicate with Excellence. I encourage you to get yourself a copy because after you listen to this guy tonight, he is going to rock your socks off with some great information. He's helped thousands of corporate professionals speak and present with excellence. He teaches to create a brighter impression, better impact, which creates a better income and a bigger income. As a man on a mission, Bishal has made many mistakes in his life, and he's learned from them, but he's never repeated them. And now what he does is he helps other people become excellent communicators, and we're going to talk all about that and more here on the Kick-Ass Radio Show. So without any further ado, I would like to bring on to the Kick-Ass Radio Show Mr. Bishal Sarkar. Bishal, are you on the call?
Yes, sir.
What's happening, buddy?
How are you, Chris?
I'm rocking and rolling, baby. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
No, thank you. You're welcome, and thank you for calling all the way from India. That's awesome. We've had people from Australia, England, and now India. I'm pleased to have you on the show, my friend. And without any further ado, I gave our listeners the textbook opener about you. But what I would like for you to do is just share with our listeners what you're all about, what your story is about, and what brings you to today in your life. So just go ahead and share away.
Wow, thanks so much. Yes, Chris, I grew up in a small family of 3 people. And what most people know about me, Chris, is that I'm a professional speaker. I have a book, and I have a coaching program. Most people know that. What most people don't know about me is that I have always been an introvert person. Always been an introvert person. As a child, I grew up with tremendous fear speaking to people, tremendous fear being judged by people, and that actually broke my self-esteem for many, many, many times. Okay, and when I grew up, I had a tremendous love for chocolates, not chicks, but chocolates, all right? Now, when I grew up, I just wanted to have a life where I could buy a lot of chocolates. So because I come from a small family, middle-class financially family, then, I came to a big city called Bangalore, did my, college and everything here. And after that, I found out that I was not doing well. Because in college, I was not getting good marks. I was not doing well in my presentations. And then I was doing what most people do. And maybe some of your listeners do the same thing, which is blaming my background. And I started blaming my background. Hey, I'm not doing well because I didn't study in an English medium school. I'm not doing well because I didn't have proper mentors. I'm not doing well because this, that. And I was just complaining all my life until one person came into my life who taught me the value of one thing. And he said to me one day that, Bishal, I want to say something to you. I said, sure. He said, dude, when are you going to stop blaming your past? I said, excuse me? He said, when exactly are you going to stop blaming your past? I said, I'm not blaming my past. I'm just doing well. He said, no, you are blaming your past. That's why you are not claiming your future. And that's
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, me too. And then he said that, Bishal, until and unless you stop blaming your future, you cannot start blaming your past. You cannot start claiming your future. And that actually, put me into the right track. And that's when I understood that it's not about what I didn't have. It's about what I can create now. And I, did everything that I could. I took classes after classes. I found mentors, and I know that you mentor people now. And I just found people. I found opportunities, and I became a speaker after that. I wrote a book. Everything is dandy. But I think, the problem that I was having, maybe someone who's listening to your show right now is having the same problem. Maybe someone right now is blaming their past. And all I want to say to them, Chris, is stop blaming your past. Start claiming your future.
That is beautiful, Bishal. That's an excellent piece of advice, and that's not even one of your 5 kick-ass tips. Stop blaming your past so you can claim your future. I mean, it's so funny because you and I have talked online a couple of times, and we've got to know each other a little bit. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I see so many people living in their past or living too much in the future, and they're missing the opportunity to be here in the present. I mean, that's why they call it the present. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy and cliche, but this is all we have. We can't go back in time and change anything. We can't go in the future and do anything. I mean, we can plan, but I like that, claiming your future and quit blaming your past. So talk to me
Absolutely.
about you said that you were an introvert and everything. What steps did you have to take to be going from an introvert and being judged and blaming people to be the kick-ass person you are today? Walk us through that process, what you had to do.
Well, a lot of things, and I wish I could share everything in this in this interview, but I want to give away as much as I can. The first thing that I found out, Chris, is that you need to find someone who will shake you up until you wake up. Somebody has to shake up until you wake up. So you need to find someone who actually finds the mistakes that you're doing. In my case, this person who happens to be one of my mentors. You need to find people who tell you your mistakes, and that's what I did. And then I became open to learning. For example, you do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of coaching with people. We sometimes see people who are not so open. Well, until and unless you're open to learning the next level, excellence, you can never go to the next level. So first of all, be open. Second thing is that, never stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you start dying. And that's one of my philosophies. Every day, I'm learning every day. I have no competition with anyone else. I have competition with my yesterday's version because I need to upgrade myself every day. One of the things that I talk about in one of my seminars is that if you are not upgraded, you are backdated. You need to upgrade yourself every day. And that's one of the things that I see, Chris, that most people don't do. They join a job or start a business and they think they're settled. And then after a few years, they feel unsettled. And then they look for help and help and help. And the thing is, all they need to do is just start learning more things, start taking some courses, start reading some books. I mean, you have a great book, A Kick-Ass Guide to Life. You need to start listening to audio programs just like they're listening to right now, and they need to find themselves in a situation where they are finding people who make them uncomfortable in a positive way. Because until and unless you're uncomfortable, you are not going to grow. And that's exactly what I did. And that's why I'm able to help so many people now, which I'm really blessed for. And this is it, man. You need to be open, and you need to grow yourself every single day.
I couldn't agree more. And for those of you guys just joining us, we're on the Kick-Ass Radio Show. We're talking with my speaker friend, all the way from India, Bishal Sarkar, and he has given us some great advice already, and these aren't even part of his 5 Kick-Ass tips, ladies and gentlemen. So, again, if you're not driving, I hope you guys are writing this stuff down, because I'm actually writing this down also. And I loved how you say, you need to find someone to shake you up so you wake you up. I mean, that's so important. I pride myself on being honest, and if I'm doing coaching or if I'm doing speaking or whatever, I pride myself on being honest, not to hurt people, but to really give them that, like you said, that shake up, because we think that we're being great friends by telling our friends and our counterparts and our peers, what they want to hear, and we don't want to hurt their feelings and everything. But honestly, when you're straight up with somebody, that's the opportunity to grow. So like Bishal's saying, the minute you start really, really growing is the minute you put down the gloves and you say, okay, what is it about me that I need to change? And being open to that, and knowing that, it might hurt, and it might bruise your ego, at the end of the day, when you learn, that's when you really grow. And I just had a situation this weekend. I did a Skype call with a friend of mine who was actually on the show before, and I think you know him, Martin Presse. And we do an accountability call, and I just asked him straight up a couple of questions, and he said, Chris, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings, brother. I said, you're actually going to make me respect you more. And he says, well, here's a couple of things I want you to think about. And, yeah, they were impactful, and, yeah, I had to stand back for a second, but, you know, that's amazing stuff. So I really appreciate that advice, you know, early on, Bishal, is the fact that you need to be open. And secondly, the other piece of advice is learning. I mean, there's absolutely no excuse out there why you shouldn't be learning, because everything on the internet is flipping free. I mean, you can go to Google, you can go to YouTube. I mean, you could probably learn how to be an underwater welder by just watching YouTube videos, I bet. So that's pretty crazy. So talk to us about what it's like being a famous, you know, public speaker there in India. How is it different than from the United States?
Well, I've never been to the United States, so I'm not sure how it's different. But in India, it's really cool, because you get to help a lot of people, my friend, you know, and at the same time, you're making a difference in people's life. You're making a difference in the way you are. And, you know, it's really cool being here. At the same time, I see a lot of challenge, Chris. The challenge that most people, you know, we talk about learning. Most people actually join a job, and after they finish their college, the statistics say they never read one book even per year on average. And guess what? That's why they are average.
True.
And the thing is that's exactly who I was, because I didn't read books. I never studied, because I thought I was settled. But until and unless someone, like I said, shook me up, that's when I learned that I need to book. Right now, I read about 2 books a week on average, and I'm not saying this to intimidate people or impress, but to tell you that you can do it. I read on average 2 books a week and 5 to 6 audio programs a week on average. Now, the reason I do this is because I am irrationally passionate about what I do. And the thing is, everyone who's listening to the show, you need to be irrationally passionate about what I do. I mean, look at Chris. He's really passionate about, you know, coaching people and giving people hope and inspiration. And, you know, doing these shows, you need to find a purpose in your life as well. Because, you know, if you don't have a purpose, the thing is, you're going to give up ultimately. Many people, Chris, I see that they join a job or, you know, they start a business, and they feel very happy in the moment because they have so many people, their relatives, oh, you got a job, nice. Oh, you started a business, nice. And because they don't have a support system, what happens is that very soon they feel lonely in the middle of so many people. And that's a bad feeling, because I've been there. It's a bad feeling.
When you're alone in a crowded room, that's bad.
Exactly. And you can't say anything. You know why? Because you have ego problem. And that's when comes the power that I've learned, power of submission. And not only you have to be open to learning, but you have to submit to someone. It might be, you know, someone in your family. It might be someone outside. And that's what I help people do. Submit to yourself to someone. And it's not me. You don't have to submit to me in any way. But you have to submit to someone who you are going to be completely respectful to. You're going to do what they say. And that's what I do, because I have a coach, Mark Hunter, 2009 world champion of public speaking, David Averin, the visibility coach. I have many coaches. Ian Humphrey is one of my mentors. And I talk to Martin sometimes as well, Martin Presse. Why? Because they make me uncomfortable. And it's really cool to be a speaker, but it's cooler to be a better speaker tomorrow every day. That's what I do every single day, to grow myself so that I can help more and more and more and more people, Chris. Because you never know. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and, you know, we talk about football. You watch football, Chris? Soccer?
No, I don't. Not anymore. I used to when I was younger, but I don't have any time for it right now.
Me too. But I used to watch, and, you know, if you watch a soccer game, it's like a 90-minute game, right? And, you know, if you take 2 minutes extra, that's 92 minutes. But, Chris, the game doesn't start. The real game doesn't start until the 85th minute is done. And after that, the real game starts for the last 7 minutes, because that's when everyone is watching the game. That's when everyone is giving the best. But before that, nobody gives the best. Thing is, Chris, we never know when the 85th minute in our life is over. We never know that. We think, okay, once we are 70, we're going to do that. We never know. So we need to give our best every single day right now. Because I know that it might be true for me, true for you, Chris, or it might be true for someone else, that someone's 86th minute of their game is today. The question is, how exactly will they finish the game? Because it's not about how you start. It's about how you choose you want to finish.
Wow. That is awesome advice. That's very well said, my friend. And it's actually, that bit of advice comes at a very timely moment in my life. I've had two different people in the last 3 weeks hit me up because somebody close to them died. I've had one guy, his uncle shot himself in a car because he had terminal cancer, and I just had another guy last week. I found his brother dead at the age of 42. So what you said is so impactful, and that's what I urge everybody so many times throughout the day and throughout the weeks, is that we don't know when our time is up. And if we're, like you're saying, if we're giving the best all the time and we're leaving a legacy that we can be proud of, that we could pass on to our kids, that's what life's about. Life's not about, getting to the end of the journey whenever it might be and then going, oh, shit, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. So I like your advice about, just always be doing your best. And there's one caveat to that. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this. When I caught myself last year saying, oh, I did the best I could. And I stopped myself in my tracks and I said, Chris, was that really your quote-unquote best? And I stopped myself and I was like, you know what? That was not my best. That's bullshit. It was not my best. We've become so conditioned just to be able to rattle that sentence off and get like a get out of jail free card. It's like, oh, I did my best. I did the best I could. But how many times do people call us on that and say, really? Tell me how that was your best. What do you think about that when somebody says they did the best they could?
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, think about it. Sometimes I remember saying that this exactly same thing. I did my best, because sometimes I did my best is a statement of excuse. Sometimes. And I remember, going to one of my mentors and telling me that, hey, I did my best. And I never forget, he looked me in the eye and he said, my friend, sometimes you cannot do your best. Sometimes you have to do whatever it takes. Chris, we all need to develop that whatever it takes mentality. Dreams are not easy. Okay, you're doing a goal-setting seminar. They set goals and everything, but it's not that easy. It's not going to be comfortable for you. You have to develop a whatever it takes attitude for your life. You want to be financially wealthy, do whatever it takes. It's not about your best, because your best might not be good enough. You got to do whatever it takes. You want to be a great speaker within your company? Don't do your best. Do whatever it takes. And once you have that mentality, Chris, everyone changes. Because you no more make excuses. I was talking to one of my mentees just last evening, and she was telling me that, Bishal, I'm doing my best in my studies and all that. And that's the same thing I said. Sometimes you have to do not what is your best, but whatever it takes. Give everything and no excuse. And Chris, when people develop that no excuse attitude, when you say to yourself that, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes, man, there is no regret. And you know what? After that, people don't mess up with you, because they know you did your real best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all comes down to, the fight or flight response that we all have as humans. When you think about it, I mean, people ask me, how did you go from being a homeless 7th grade dropout, living in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs? How did you go from that to trying to commit suicide twice to now having a master's degree, owning 2 houses, having a career that spans over 20 years in your job, and starting a speaking and coaching company? How did you do that? And I tell them with an absolute stern face that I wanted it so bad I couldn't live without it.
Yeah.
I told myself that one day I will own my own house and I will never be homeless again. And I remember laying in the back seat of that station wagon, miserable and crying because I had no place to go and I lost all my friends and my mom was psychotic and all this other crap. But I just remember saying, I will own my own house someday and I will never be homeless again. Mm-hmm. And that's what I teach people, and that's what you're doing, is when you have that absolute passion, that absolute, we were talking earlier about the big enough why. When you have a big enough why in your life, you have the big enough how. And, that's what I teach, and that's, you're so right, because some people sit there and say, and Larry Broughton, who was on my show, amazing guy, he said, and I'm going to screw up I actually should write this down. He says a violently executed half-assed plan is way better than a perfectly non-executed plan.
Yeah.
So he talks about just going out there And I told somebody the other day, they said, what do you do? And I always come up with different things. And I said, I help people fail their way to success. And they stopped and they said, that's brilliant. I'm like, but they said it sounded kind of negative. I said, well, think about it. I asked them a question. And I'll ask my listeners, and I'll ask you this question. Do you learn from your mistakes? Do you? Do you learn from your mistakes, Bishal?
I do. That's why I don't repeat them. And I make a bunch of them.
Exactly.
But I don't
and that's the point.
I learn from them.
That's exactly the point. Most of us learn. Some of us don't. And those are the people that I call my steady Eddies out in the world. But if you learn from your mistakes, then why don't you make more? And I told this guy that. And he looks at me and he goes, I never thought about it that way. And I said, well, that's exactly the way I teach. I try to get people to think about things differently. That's what I loved about George Carlin. You know, people have said I'm a cross between Tony Robbins and George Carlin at an AC/DC concert. But George Carlin had such an interesting way of making fun of something that was so stupid, but it got you to think like, oh, I get it now. You know, so that's pretty impactful stuff. You're already giving our listeners a bang for their buck, so I hope they're all taking notes and everything. But why don't you go ahead and give us your first kick-ass tip?
Sure. You know, it's about communication, because I believe that we are all communicating every day. Either you are communicating at home, communicating at your work or your business, on a radio show, on YouTube. We are always communicating. So the first tip is that, you know, it's not about perfection. It's all about connection. And if I tell you, Chris, where exactly I learned it, I need to take you back when I was in college first year. I was in my first semester. And after the second semester, actually, I had to do an internship. Now, all the people, because I was studying in a management school back then, management college, and all the people took different jobs at, you know, companies like IBM and different places, like for 2 months. I took an interesting job, and you're going to love this, man. I took a job for selling newspaper subscriptions door to door. Okay?
Wow.
And I don't know why I did that, but I think that was one of the best unconscious decisions of my life. And I remember, you know, taking the newspaper subscription, getting the training for 2 days, and taking the bag and knocking on my first door. Before entering the door, I was just thinking, what should I say? You know, am I going to say this? Am I going to say that? And then I entered, and the lady came outside and said, you know, I don't need that. I mean, she took like 3 to 4 seconds, and I was practicing for that line for the last 4 minutes. And once she was done, I went outside, and I was like, come on. Now, then I, you know, kept knocking on doors because I wanted to sell. I was, you know, what I didn't realize back then, that I was actually overcoming a fear of rejection that we all need to overcome. And unconsciously, I was overcoming that. And then I knocked on the door, and this man came out. His name was Rakesh Goodwin. Okay, he's a famous author right here from Bangalore. Now, before meeting him at the door while I was selling the newspaper, I actually met him 3 months before that day, where he was a conference speaker. I went there as an audience member, and he gave us such a nice speech, Chris. After the speech was over, I went to him and I said, you know, Rakesh, thanks so much. Someday I want to be what you are, which is an author. Someday I want to do what you do, which is a speaker, you know. And then he looked at me and he said, Bishal, you will do it someday. And then he went away because so many people were there asking questions. And there I was selling newspaper. I was knocking on the door, and he came out. And he gave me a smile, and he said, I have met you somewhere. And I said, yes, you have. Rakesh, you know, I'm out of my mind. I just met you at the conference. And he said, yes, what's your name? I said, my name is Bishal Sarkar. He said, Bishal, nice. And Chris, then he said to me one thing that nobody else said to me when I was selling newspaper. Rakesh said, come inside. Let's have some coffee.
Wow.
What? You offer coffee to a newspaper seller? I was like, man, what's happening? Is he crazy? And I said, no, you know, I don't have time, Rakesh. I'm really sorry. I need to go. And he said, sure. And of course, he didn't buy from me. So then I went away, and you know, now, Chris, everything has changed. And I started, you know, doing my own workshop now a few years afterwards. Now I do my own public speaking event for 2 days where I teach people the step-by-step process of being a highly effective presenter so that they can make a great impression and impact. Now, when I was doing the workshop on February 1st and 2nd, okay, I do it once a month right here in Bangalore. On February 1st and 2nd, I was doing the event. The first day was over. The second day before the event started, day 2 before that, I was talking to a client who came to me and said, Bishal, I had some questions. And behind him was a man. And who was it? Rakesh Goodwin. And I went to him and I said, Rakesh, my name is, and he said, Bishal Sarkar. You are the guy who came to me selling newspaper. I said, yes, do you remember? He said, Bishal, let's have some coffee today. Chris, you know what?
Damn.
That day I realized that it's not about how you respect people when you need to respect. It's about how you respect people when you don't have to respect. And he gave me the respect when I was selling newspaper. He gave me the respect when I was the author. And then I gave him the book. I said, Rakesh, when I met you for the first time, you had an author today. I wrote my book. And he said, Bishal, give me the book. I'll have a look, and I'll give you a call after that. Chris, he taught me the value that it's not about being perfect. It's about being able to connect with people. So many people are just caught up thinking, I need to be perfect on the stage. I need to just, blow up, and I just need to be No, you don't need to have perfection. All you need to have is connection. Because when you have connection, people connect with you. Chris, is that fine if I give your listeners some tips about how to connect with your audience every single time? Is that fine with you?
No, I don't want you giving my listeners any more value. Come on now. Come on now. Jeez. No, actually, I was just going to ask you that. This is not scripted, ladies and gentlemen. I was just going to ask you, do you have some tips on what they could do?
I do.
So by all means,
I'm all about practical things. Absolutely. Chris, I'm all about practicality, just like you are. You tell people that you are someone who's practical, no fluffy self-help, BS. It's all about practical. Same with me. I teach people not how communication can change the world. I teach you what exactly you can do right now to connect with your audience. So, take notes, man. First thing you need to do, Chris, and anybody who's listening, is that you need to get attention from people. Every single time you speak, you need to get attention. I see so many people, because they come to me for coaching or training, they tell me, Bishal, when I speak, I don't connect with people. And the problem that most people are facing, Chris, is because they're starting in a very, very old-fashioned way, which is, good morning, happy to be here. I was like, you know what? If you're really happy, you would not say it like this.
Thank you. I love that. That's awesome.
And what you need to do is that, get their attention. Thing is, Chris, when people are speaking, if I'm speaking and people are not paying attention, it's not the audience's fault. It's mine.
True.
Because I didn't get their attention. What you need to do is that immediately don't start, hi, happy to be here, blah, blah, blah. Just start right into a question. Get into a question right away. That's the first thing that you do. Second thing you can do is always share your failures. Share your failures. Most people have a tendency to show them as the perfect person. Oh, I have this $1 million. Oh, I'm the manager of this company. When you do that, people think you're bragging. What you need to do in those moments is that share your failures. What happened? Yeah, today you are a manager, but what happened when you joined the job? Tell us about it. I mean, you just talked about, how you were a homeless person. Well, that's what people connect with when we share our failures, our frustrations, and different things. Third thing you need to remember is that you need to find a connection, a point of connection, which is a similarity between you and the people you are speaking to. It was Tony Robbins who said that people tend to like you when they find out that they are like you. People tend to like you when they find out that they are like you. So find out some similarity. What's the similarity between you and the people you are speaking to? What's the similarity between you and the person you are communicating with? Just bring it up front, and they're going to connect just like this. Another thing you can do is what Chris does. Be in the moment. Be in the moment. Most people have their script in their head all the time rehearsing. They're never in the moment. And that's when someone asks a question from the audience, or, a person asks a question which was not planned, they mess up. Their professionalism goes up. Be in the moment, and that's one. So, get their attention, ask some questions, share your failures. Remember that people tend to like you when they think they are like you, and ask some, and be in the moment. That's how you can easily connect with people anytime. Chris?
Wow. Let's do a little station identification. You guys are listening to the KICKASS Radio Show. I'm the host, Christopher Roush, and we are talking with the extraordinarily charismatic and energetic Bishal Sarkar from India, who is doing a fantastic job of getting us inspired and getting us motivated and energized about being responsible for our own destiny. I think that's what we could take from the first half of the show here is just taking responsibility for our life, being authentic, being transparent, being humble, being open to feedback. I don't call it criticism or, I say it's feedback. And what you just said, I mean, you just gave us kick-ass tip number 1, which is, basically, look for, not for perfection, but look for connection. And then you gave us about 5 tips in addition to that about how to connect. And I think that's so important. People ask me, Chris, given the fact of all the different things I teach on, they say, what's the most important skill I should have? And without a blink of an eyelash, well, maybe one blink, because my contacts get dry, but that's another story. I sit there and tell them communication, being able to authentically connect with people, not necessarily just in your own group, but finding that, like you said, that similarity early on. Bob Donnell, you're familiar with Bob Donnell?
No, I'm not.
Okay, he was on the show early on, and he actually has a thing called The Next Level. And Bob talks about, don't walk up to somebody, and I catch myself doing this still sometimes, don't walk up to somebody and go, hi, I'm Christopher Roush, what do you do for a living? It's like, no, it's like, hi, I'm Christopher Roush. What was a favorite time in your childhood? And number one, they look at me like, okay, that was cool. That was a different question because I was getting ready to give you my 30-second prepared, practiced, and polished elevator speech. Well, I'm John Doe, and I sell life insurance, and you need life insurance because it's great. Hot Pocket, Well, when you sit there and you say, okay, what was your favorite childhood memory? Then all of a sudden they go into themselves and go, oh my God, I had the best time when I used to ride my bike and da-da-da. You know what? I had a bike too. I had a BMX cruiser bike. Oh, you did? And like you're saying, Bishal, it's so great because when you make that connection, and it's not even salesy, it's just a true, authentic. Okay, how can we connect? That's so right. And one question I have for you, based on the first tip, is you talk about not perfection but connection. Talk to us about how people who are perfectionists, because we know all of them are out there. I am guilty of it too. That's why I've got 3 books sitting on my desk right now, and one's barely about to be published because I am a perfectionist in that respect. But talk to us about what we can do to get out of our perfectionist ways.
Well, there's a famous consultant called Alan Wise. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Are you? With him? Are you?
Yeah,
Alan Wise says one thing.
A speaking coach.
Yeah. So, Alan Wise says one thing, that when you have the thing 80% ready, go. Don't wait for the 100% because you can modify all the time. I remember, Chris, I'll give you an example. When I wrote my second book, this is my second book, which you talked about, I Love Public Speaking, How to Communicate with Excellence. That's a small little book, thin book that you can read in 1 hour. I love small books because who reads books, 300-page books anyways nowadays? People want short books. So I had the book at my home, selling like crazy, from my website. So one, relative came to me and said, I'm actually also writing a book, and that's a thick book. I'm writing from last 15 years. How long did it take for you? I said, a few weeks. Then he said, your book is very thin, very small. And Chris, I didn't want to be really harsh to them, but I said, you know what? My ugly little thin book is better than the book that you don't have.
Exactly. It's
most people are waiting for that perfection. They are just waiting for perfection. I need the perfect book cover. I need the perfect office before I start. I need to have the perfect wife before I start smiling a little bit more. Thing is, it's not going to come. What you need to do is do it now and do it solid. You can always improve it later on. You can always improve. So whether you have whatever you do in your career, something is in the back door right now for you and your listeners. I'm talking about your listeners, Chris. So, I'm talking to you right now, everyone who's listening. You have something that you have been waiting to do. The question is, maybe it's 85th minute for you again. When are you going to start? Start now, do it solid, and that's going to help you.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. I completely agree, my friend. That is tremendous. I hope you guys are out there taking notes. I'm going to beat you over the head with my stick if you're not. Go ahead and give us kick-ass tip number 2, Mr. Bishal.
Sure. This second tip that I learned, because I know that, Chris, the people who are listening to the show, some of them present in their office and speak to people, and they have tremendous nervousness sometimes, because I don't know about you, but I had tremendous stage fear when I started speaking. Oh, how about you, Chris?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still get nervous before I go on stage.
Yeah. So, most people are completely nervous in terms of they shake, their body shakes. And I wrote an entire book on that. I love public speaking, where I give strategies. But one of the tips, the best tips that I ever got from my coach, Mark Hunter, when I was training myself for the World Championship of Public Speaking, a couple of years back, and he said to me one day, I was completely nervous. So I had a Skype session with Mark because, like I said, I do coaching. At the same time, I get coached by people because I want to go to the next level. So I was, getting coached by Mark, and, I said, Mark, I'm really nervous. I have to speak in front of 550 people, what should I do? And then Mark asked me one thing, that, Bishal, who is the speech for? I said, of course, the audience. He said, then focus on them. Don't focus on yourself. Focus on your audience. And, Chris, that was the biggest thing. Most people are afraid because they are self-conscious. Oh, am I looking good? Is there something stuck between my teeth? Is my belt in the right position? Is my shoe looking shiny? Thing is, they're coming for your presentation, not for your shoe. Come on. And the thing is, you need to forget yourself and remember that you are for them. And when you start focusing on your audience, everything changes. I see so many people coming to me, and I'm, fortunate to coach them, and they say things like, oh, I'm really nervous. The thing is, when you're giving a business presentation, don't focus on yourself. Focus on your clients. When, you are doing like a video thing, in front of a video, because I have 230 videos on my YouTube channel, most people are like, I'm camera shy. Yeah, don't focus on yourself. Focus on who's going to watch that video. When you have that mindset, the service mindset, that it's not about me, it's about what service I'm bringing to the table, everything changes. Your fear goes away, and that's how, Chris, you turn your fear of speaking into power of speaking, by stop focusing on yourself and by starting to focus on the people you're speaking to.
Yeah, you want to hear something funny, Bishal? When I was writing, I was sitting there taking notes right now, and I wrote down serve others right as you said the word serving. I mean, talk about great minds thinking alike. I'm not even making that up. I was like, in a nutshell, I was thinking, okay, how do I wrap this up? Serve others. And it's so true, because I was talking, I have a coach too, and I was talking to him the other day, and excuse me, listeners out there in Radio Land, I have a sore throat, so I have a throat lozenge in my mouth, which normally I don't talk with anything in my mouth, but my throat's killing me. And I was talking about selling. I'm like, God, I hate selling. I'm not a salesperson. I don't like the selling part of it. And they told me, it's all about adjusting our perspective. And he says, Christopher, you're not selling. He goes, you're serving. He goes, if you're standing on stage and you're saying, ladies and gentlemen, I have the ability as a coach to help you transform your mindset from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking. You can get a piece of that for this cost. He goes, you're not selling, you're serving. And if people are in the position of wanting to receive and learn, like we were talking about, then that's not selling. It's like you're offering something at a value. And it changed the way I looked at it, because I'm like you're right.
And when you're really, really passionate about what you're doing, for example, whether you are giving a presentation, you are selling a product to your clients in terms of your presentation, or, whatever you're doing, if you're really passionate, you're not going to be nervous, because I don't know who said it, but I just want to give you the right source, but I don't have it. But someone said that it's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service.
Ooh, I got to write that down. It's hard to be nervous.
It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service. So instead of thinking about yourself, think what your presentation can do for you. Chris, whether we realize or not, there is someone always in the audience member, maybe one person, maybe just one, who needs to hear that presentation that day, who needs our service that day, who needs our product that day. And if we are not opening up, we are shutting down.
No, I agree. So it's hard to be nervous when your heart is in service. That is awesome.
Yeah, someone tweeted,
Someone tweet it. Yeah. I have radio show hosts that are actually able to tweet while they talk, and I'm like, how do you do that? That was kick-ass tip number 2. And one of the questions.
Those people have multitasking program that we need to take coaching of.
Yeah, I know. I mean, actually, I could do it while you're talking, but I'm too busy paying attention because I want to make sure I write everything down. So you talk about being a coach. Talk to us about what your typical ideal target market is and what a typical training is when you coach somebody.
Gosh, I train people right now. I coach and work with people who work for an organization. Okay, I don't much work with entrepreneurs, but who work for an organization and who want to give massively successful presentations in their job. Because, Chris, I have understood that you will be hired for your technical skills, but you will be fired for your lack of presentation skills. You will be hired for your technical skills, but you'll be fired for lack of your presentation skills. So what I coach them on is clarity. Number one, how do you become much more confident in your presentation skills? How do you become so confident that not only you can feel the confidence, but people around you can feel the confidence? And I show them in a practical way. Second thing is that how do you structure a world-class presentation in such a way that connects with people? Like I said, Chris, it's not about perfection, it's all about connection. But at the same time, when you speak, if you speak blah, 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 and this and that, which most people do and which I used to do, thing is, people are not going to remember you. And if you are taking time of people's, life and talking to them, whether 5 clients or 500 audience members, and if you're wasting time by not being memorable, what was the point of your presentation? You just wasted time. And if there are 500 people and you just spoke for 10 minutes and wasted time, you wasted 5,000 minutes of people's time.
Wow.
You need to be memorable. And the third major thing, Chris, is what I teach, where I specialize in, is body language. Body language. Chris, I'm sure you know that 93% of our communication is nonverbal. 93% of our communication is nonverbal. You know what it means? It means that just 7% is what you say, 93% is how you say what you say. And most people never master that. Most people they just want to stand there, look at the PPT, change the slides, and, just say thank you. Well, if all you have is the PPT, why do we need you? Why don't you email us the PPT? We can have a look.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach people on, that your presentation is not the PPT. You are the presentation. And one of the things that I really appreciate about you, Chris, is that when you speak, I've seen some of your videos on YouTube, you just connect. I mean, you don't look at anything. You just go there and just connect with people. And that's something that I show people step by step in a practical way, how to connect with people and become memorable in your presentation.
That's fantastic advice, and I appreciate the compliment. Actually, I have to give credit to Glenn Morshower, the actor on 24. He's become a dear friend of mine, and he has, for those of you guys out there listening, he's agreed to be on my show. So he's going to be on my show when his schedule opens up. What an amazing, not just a great actor, but even more importantly, what an amazing human being inside of his heart. He has a DVD out called The Extra Mile. And I really encourage you guys out there to grab it, because you want to talk about somebody who can talk from the heart and not have anything scripted. He has taught me to believe in myself so much more as a speaker. And I've belonged to Toastmasters for a lot of years and learned, all the different things, which has been very, very helpful for me. I'm not currently in Toastmasters, but being able to speak authentically and have your message congruent with what you're saying, Bishal, your body language. When you speak from the heart and you're passionate about something, it all lines up. And that's why I used to be a suit and tie speaker. I mean, I think you've seen pictures of me. I've actually got videos on my YouTube of when I was doing suit and tie speaking. But I wasn't congruent. I was like, oh my God, I'm giving the message, but I'm having to say it in such a perfect way so no, I don't hurt anybody's feelings or say, an offensive word or whatever. And I'm uncomfortable in this suit. I hate the suit. And I finally just had to say, you know what? I want to be an authentic speaker and help change people's mindsets to have a kick-ass life. And I'm going to do it wearing a bandana and a tie and some jeans and Converse shoes. My next step, honestly, in probably 10 years is I'm going to go to a sleeveless shirt and a pair of shorts and flip-flops. I mean, that's going to be my next transformation because, wait a minute, I'm going to get off track here. But anyway, the key is, like you're saying, because I have ADD on crack, what you're saying here is and pay attention to the body language. Okay, we're coming down on the last 10 minutes of the show, so I want to make sure we get in the rest of the kick-ass tips. So go ahead and give us kick-ass tip number 3.
Yeah, the point number 3 that we all need to keep in mind is that you need to be clear about what you're saying. Okay, you need to be clear about what you're saying. And since we have less time, I'm gonna just give the tips right away. Answer this question when you're giving a presentation or you're talking to someone. What do I want these people to think, feel, and act differently as a result of watching me as a presenter? What do I want my audience members to think, feel, and act differently as a result of watching me as a presenter? Chris, I see that most people in India, and I'm not sure, your country as well or not, but in India, most people are, when they have a presentation or they have a, communication to make, they just, they make some slides and then they think, okay, what exactly am I going to say? No. You just set the goal first. The goal of my presentation. What do I want my people to do? What exactly? Because I see, Chris, most people give people too many options, and that's why their audience members don't take any action. Because what you need to keep in mind, if you're taking notes, guys, write this down. A confused mind says no. A clear mind says go.
Yep.
And it's your responsibility to make them clear about what exactly should be the next step. Is the next step that they need to come to you to take an autograph? Or what is the next step? They should buy your book. Or what is the next step? They should get your software solution contract for 2 years. Whatever. You need to give them the step and start there. So be clear about your message. And this is one thing that most people in India don't do. And I coach them on and bring the clarity. That's when they get the success in their presentation. Chris?
That's absolutely fantastic advice, because sometimes and I'm guilty of this, I will get off on a tangent and I will talk around, and all of a sudden it's like I've confused people because I'm passionate about something, I'm on a roll, and then I see the confused looks in their face, I'm like, shit. But you're right, confused minds don't buy, and also, like we were saying before, people will buy when they know, like, and trust you, and that's exactly. Super important. So I think that's a fantastic tip.
And Chris, the thing is, we need to keep in mind that sometimes we might think that the people who are speaking very excellently, that they are natural. Well, the thing is, they have practiced so much that it looks natural. Because someone said the art is in hiding the art. The art is in hiding the art.
Well, yeah, especially if you're stealing art. You want to hide it.
Yeah.
All right, give us kick-ass tip number 4, my friend. You are rocking the kick-ass radio show for sure.
Thanks, man. I'm having an excellent time, Chris. The 4th tip I want to give your listeners is choose to have excellence in your daily life. Choose to have excellence in your daily life. Whatever you do, whether it's a leadership position that you have, you've got to work on that every day. Like, Chris, you were saying, you need to learn every day. And, I just say that you need to prepare every day. Every day for something, you need to prepare. Muhammad Ali, the famous boxer that we all know, and if someone doesn't know, I don't know where you were all these days. But if you know Muhammad Ali, he said that the fight was always won before I entered the ring.
Yeah.
The fight was always won before I entered the ring. So it's not about what you do in the ring, it's what you do before you get in. It's not about what you do in your office, it's about what you do before going there. What exactly are you doing? Are you watching news, or are you listening to good radio shows like this? Or are you preparing yourself? You need to do that positive things every day. One of the things I was talking to you about before the show is visualization. You were telling me about visualization. That's a powerful tool. Every day, just close your eyes. A small little tip for you right now. Every day, just close your eyes in the morning, and no meditation, no yoga, but just visualize your perfect life. What does it look like? And don't just see, but there are 3 senses you need to turn on. Number 1, visual. What do you see? Auditory. What can you hear in the background? And number 3, what can you touch? How does it feel? If you have a dream home that you want to have in your life, imagine yourself walking in the carpet with bare foot. How does it feel in the feet? Well, that's the thing that if you keep seeing it every day, it's going to change your life. You see that it comes to you. If you take actions with inspiration, you get the results that you desire and deserve, Chris.
Wow, that's tremendous stuff, and that's probably what I did a lot when I was 13 years old. Is I used to just close my eyes and I would visualize a hot blonde, and I would hear her talking to me, and then I would well, we're on the Kick-Ass Radio Show. I can say whatever I want. Yes, indeed. But no, seriously, it's so true, because I tell people, the power of the mind, I tell them that perception is reality, and your mind does not know the difference between perceived reality and real reality. And I demonstrate this by saying, okay, have you ever had a bad dream? Person says, yes, I've had a horrible dream. I said, okay, what happened when you woke up? I felt like it happened. I was like shaking, and I was sweating, and I was scared, and I felt like it happened. I'm like, okay, that was your mind playing a film in your brain that made your body react appropriately. So exactly the same thing like you're saying, visualize in your mind what you can see and what you can feel and what you can touch. For me, every morning when I wake up, I spend probably 20 seconds, and I see myself walking out on stage. I see my logo behind me, and AC/DC Back in Black is playing, and there's like 10,000 people in the audience, and they're all excited to see me there helping them transform their mind. And I have no doubt in my mind that it's not going to happen one day. And one day I'm going to be on stage, I'm like, holy shit, it made it. So no, that's tremendous. That's tremendous tips, and you're way over delivering. So go ahead and give us tip number 5.
Well, this is my favorite actually, and this is nothing related to communication directly. But if this you don't have, nothing else works, Chris, and you know this hugely, and that is faith in daily life. You got to have faith in daily life, because, Chris, we are not going to have the best days every day of our lives. Sometimes we have bad days. In fact, I want to just, how much time we have? 5 minutes?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes and 37 seconds.
Okay.
But actually, keep talking. We can do a bonus session. It'll go for live listeners. It'll go off the air in 3 minutes, but we can keep going, and then the podcast people can hear the rest of it. So keep on going.
All right. Thanks so much. Love it. Now, I just want to tell you about this couple who, got married, many years back, and they had their first, they had their baby, right? And they were so happy. Our baby boy is born, and baby boy is born. And the baby boy, after a few months, Chris, had bronchopneumonia, the disease, bronchopneumonia. And the doctor said that the baby may die or may live. We don't know. And that was like a shock to this couple. Our baby can die? Come on now, you got to do something. And the doctor said, we don't know. We are trying our best. And, that
trying your best.
Yeah, trying my best, whatever it takes. So that night, the lady was lying on the bed in the hospital with the baby boy beside her, and the man was outside. Now, the doctor came with a huge prescription and gave the prescription to the man, and said that, hey, you got to bring this, medicines today. And the doctor went away. And the man leaned on the wall, looked at the prescription, looked at the ceiling, and felt hopeless. Because, Chris, he lost all his money already in the treatment. He didn't have much. And he was like, okay, what should I do now? And the lady inside the hospital room saw that through the window. And, she called the man in and said, come in. And the husband came in. The wife said, hey, what happened? And he said, no, I'm not going. Everything is fine. I'm going to manage the money. And the lady said, no, go home, open the almirah, which is a wardrobe, and between my clothes, you're going to find 300 rupees, which is the currency in India, 300 rupees that I saved. And the man said, you saved money for what? And the lady said, I saved the money so that when my boy becomes a grown man, I can buy him some toys. But now that he's sick, first we have to buy him some medicines. And the man, went home, took the money because he had to, got the medicines, came back next day. They took care of the baby every single day with faith and real faith. Every day they were doing everything that they could, and they came back home after a few days. The husband went back to his work, working hard, and Chris, he was working harder because he wanted a better life for his family. The woman at home was cultivating great values into his son's life so that when the son becomes a man, he can do something. And the baby boy didn't die, Chris, because his parents had faith. Let me tell you something. The baby boy, whose name was Bishal Sarkar, didn't die because my parents had faith.
Wow. That is amazing. Let me just take a quick second right here.
Go ahead.
Because we've got a few minutes or a few seconds. For those of you guys listening live, the show's going to end here in about 20 seconds. I want to say thank you for listening live. Bishal and I are going to continue the conversation. You can catch the rest of the conversation on the podcast. I've got extra time on the podcast. But I just want to say thank you for listening live. You guys rock. I love you. And Bishal, we're going to go ahead and continue this conversation for a bonus feature on your particular interview. So go ahead and finish telling that. So you were the baby that could have died.
Absolutely. If you want to hear the rest and everything, listen to the podcast.
Yep. Okay. So go ahead and keep telling us about that.
Yeah, and it taught me the value, Chris, that you need to have faith every day, because if you look at the economy, I'm not sure about, I know the economy of USA. If you look at the economy of India, people are losing jobs every day. People are going bankrupt in their business every single day. People are going broke every single day. People are, being fired for lack of communication skills every day. But if you have faith, and after having the faith, if you take the right actions, everything can change for you. Now, I said I'm all about practicality. So if you are struggling with something right now, if you want to have faith, apart from the faith, I want to give you some tips that you can use right now. First of all, like Christopher said, get an accountability partner. Get an accountability partner, someone who is as successful as you are, preferably more successful than you are. Just talk to them once a week and just, take some action that, okay, for next 7 days, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. Let's be accountable, and that's going to put you into the right mood. Second thing is that get into a mastermind meeting or go to seminars every day. Chris, I don't remember who said it, but I just heard someone say that preparation is the highest form of faith.
Preparation is the highest form of faith?
Yes. I mean, think about it. When you're preparing, you don't know what you're preparing for, how much result is going to give you, but you prepare anyway. Why? Because you have faith. Whatever you want to have in your life, prepare for that every single day. And the third thing that I want to say, I think it's huge for having faith in your life, and I know that you have this, Chris, in your life, so do I. Find a partner, like a life partner, not with who you can live, but without who you cannot live. So find someone you cannot live without, because that person is going to give you faith when you have down moments. I have a girlfriend who I dearly love, going to get married in a few years. Every time I'm down in my life, she tells me, Bishal, you can do better. Every time I feel demotivated, because we all do, right? Though we are motivational speakers, we get demotivated. She tells me, Bishal, everything is fine. Here is what you do. Gotta do that, man. Gotta do that. And she puts me into the right track. And Chris, I know you have a wonderful wife that you dearly love. We need to find a partner that puts us into the right track, and that's how we can keep our faith up so that we can take our life up.
Oh, tremendous advice, and that's so true, because I see so many people get into relationships and it's that fear, that scarcity thinking. It's like, okay, and it happens. One person's on this trajectory of, okay, I'm going to make it. I'm going to do these things. Like me, I'm always a go-getter. I'm always doing something, learning something, trying something. I've got more hobbies and more things that can keep me busy. But sometimes you get in a situation where the spouse will feel scared, like, okay, now let me hold you back. I don't want you to get too far ahead of me. I don't want you to grow too much. And so when I give people relationship advice and relationship coaching, it's like, find that person that's going to let you be free, but also isn't going to hold you back out of thinking like, oh my God, you're going to leave me behind. I mean, my wife and I are two separate people, two separate personalities in one respect, because I'm a very action-oriented, go-getter type thing. And she could easily be like, okay, I don't want you going to that hotel for 4 days by yourself and meeting all these people. I don't want you, doing it. But she's awesome. She's fantastic. She's like, go out there, babe, make it happen. Live your dream. I'm here to support you. And you're absolutely right. It's so true, because
Chris,
I see so much.
Chris, the thing is, when you have a hard time, because we all do, it's your wife who gives you the biggest hope.
No. No, of course she does. I mean, she does. It's people like you that give me hope. But you're absolutely right on a couple of things. Number one, people sit there and say, "Oh, Chris, well, it must be nice to be you. You never get depressed. You never get down." I'm like, no, bullshit. I'm human, and I have my down days. I have my down weeks. I have my times where I'm like, okay, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? But like we talked about at the top of the show, just go out there and do it. I mean, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do with this radio show, but I said, I'm going to start it. I'm going to do it. I show up every single Monday. There's only been one Monday, and that was towards the end of last year. I was in San Francisco, where I said, I'm going to skip one show. But other than that, I'm here every single Monday night. I'm constantly meeting new people and getting them on the show, and you just get better at it. But what you're saying here is, get an accountability partner. It's so important. You and I invest in coaches. It changed my life when I said, okay, I've got the answers and I know what to do, and I've got all this personal development experience. But when I had an accountability partner and I joined a mastermind, I've been in the mastermind now going on my third year. The trajectory of my success has been tenfold. I mean, I had to put out a lot of money, and it was scary. And it was like, oh my God, where am I going to come up with this, and what am I going to do? But when you find your passion, and like we've been talking about, people are going to probably be like, oh my God, I've got too much energy between these two. When you find what you love to do and you invest that money, you will get it back. You will get it back.
Chris, exactly, you will get it back. And the thing I see most people do, Chris, is that they change their iPhone every 3 months. But when it comes to invest in a seminar or getting an audio program that can change their financial freedom, they say, I don't have the money. It's not that they don't have the money. It's just that they have a lot of excuse. And one of the things that I heard in, I don't know where, it said that if it's important to you, you will find a way. If it's not important to you, you will find an excuse.
Find an excuse. I love that saying. We need to set our priority. What is important to you? We need to set that. And then we invest there. For me, nothing is more important than my family's freedom. The time I spend with my family. Nothing, and everything that I do from the time in the morning till the time that I work in the night, I do it for the family. That's my priority. Everything that comes between that, I kick it off. I just do what I need to do because I don't do what's best. I do whatever it takes. Wow. I've got to say, Bishal, I am so impressed with you and so impressed with what you've accomplished. And what's cool about our relationship is the fact that we live entire worlds apart, and we've had totally different experiences in what we've done. But here today, like we were talking about before, living in the moment, this is pretty fucking cool. It's like, okay, you and I are a lot of the same, and we connect, and it's just about finding the right people. I tell people this, and as far as having a kick-ass life, I say take a look at the 5 people you're around the most, and Stephen Covey gets credit for this. He's the one that created it. But I tell people over and over again, if you look at the 5 people you're around the most, and if they're successful and if they're energetic, then they're go-getters, and that's what you want to be, then you're in the right group. But if you look around and you're like, okay, all my buddies do is sit around, drink beer, and watch football and complain about life, chances are you're going to be like one of those people. And I've had a few situations throughout my life where I had to look around the people I was with and the surroundings I was in and say, okay, I've got to make a change, otherwise I'm going to wind up like them. So, what you're saying, have an accountability partner, it's all about having the right people in your life, having the right people on your team that really makes that difference. And so many people think that there's just no hope and there's nothing they can do, and like, oh, well, you don't understand, Chris. It's like, no, I mean, I'm not called the no excuses coach for a reason. It's like, really? Let's talk about the bullshit you're feeding yourself right now. I can't do this. I had a situation with a guy, a vice president of a company. I wasn't coaching him or anything, but he started venting. He's like, God, I hate this place, and I want to get out of here, da-da-da-da. And I've heard him bitch about it before, and I said, okay, so why don't you quit? And he says, Christopher, come on, I can't quit. I'm a vice president. I've been here for so many years, and, I got a family to take care of. I got a daughter going to school, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you could actually walk upstairs right now, and you could hand in your resignation, and you could quit. And he's like, and I said, yeah, no, so what are you doing? I said, you're choosing to be here. So you're choosing to be part of the problem and not part of the solution. So you only have yourself to blame. Sorry, pal. And he just looked at me and he goes, he looks at me with a smirk and he says, I hate talking to you. And I said, yeah, because I'm right. I said, so why don't you get your ass out of here and go set up a plan to have an exit strategy. Like you said, prepare, have an exit strategy and get to work on it and be passionate about it and, live your life. Don't wait for someday. That's why I tell people, don't play the someday game. It's like, someday I'm going to do this and someday. Why? Why don't you do it right now? Oh, I don't have any money.
Yeah,
really?
Someday going to die.
On the internet. It's all about like you said, the excuses. It's so interesting. I hear excuses and they echo in my mind like banging drums. It's like, shut up. You just want to smack people and say, "Quit your bitching and start grooving." So we've gone into bonus time on our show, and this is actually, I think, the second time I've ever done this. So I just want to thank you again, and I want you to share with the listeners who are going to be listening, because I get a lot of people downloading the podcast. I know you publish a very one thing I wanted to ask you about is you publish a very cool newsletter, and you give a ton of content for free. You serve people. Talk to us about what you do with that newsletter and how people can connect with you and get that same information.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to, my website, which is bishalsarkar.com, BISHALSARKAR.com, and you can find the name on the Blog Talk Radio page, KICKASS Guide to Life Radio page, and just type my name on the Google and you'll find my website. Chris, I'm irrationally passionate about what I do, and I want to give away more gifts than I generally give to people today, okay? First of all, when you go there and sign up for the newsletter, which is absolutely free of cost, you don't pay me a single rupee ever for that. What you get instantly is access to my book. It's a motivational book, code book called Daily Wisdom for Daily Excellence. It's a motivational book. You're going to love it. The second thing that you receive right there is an audio program called Go Big. Because, Chris, we are listening to this radio show. We are talking on the radio show because people want to go to the next level. They want to go big. Well, I did a teleseminar for 35 minutes, which I now have put there. You can listen to the show. Just go to bishalsarkar.com and just sign up for the newsletter. Now, these two things everybody else is getting. Now, I want to help you people to speak with more confidence, because this show was about communicating with excellence and, KICKASS Guide to Life. I want to give your people, because we talked about body language, I want to give your people one audio chapter from my audio program on body language and a chapter on how to add humor to your formal business presentations. Because I understand many of your listeners do business presentations. If you go to the website again and send me an email from the contact form saying, I heard you on KICKASS Radio Show and Mr. KICKASS was awesome, just send me the files. I'm going to personally send these 2 audio programs. So all you need to do, again, go to bishalsarkar.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you get all the gifts that are waiting for you. This is my gift to all the people, because I'm really irrationally passionate about it, Chris. The reason I am is because people are being cheated, Chris. People are being cheated right now in different countries.
That's true.
In India, because I have invested a lot of money in my past where I went to learn something and I did not learn anything, because all they were teaching was some theory. And because you know that, Chris, because we have so many people around the world, some self-proclaimed motivational speakers, blah, 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 who just tell you it is possible, live your dreams, and they never teach you how to live your dreams. And they just waste your time, take your money. And it's not an investment, it's a wastage of money. And Chris, I see so many people. I just had a guy, calling me from Nike and coming to me for the Bootcamp 2-day event that I do in Bangalore and coming to my coaching program. He was telling me of one person who stays in Bangalore who took a bunch of money from this guy and taught him some, theory-based thing that he could not put into any use. And Chris, the thing is, that's who I'm fighting with right now. People who are cheating money from people like you, people like me. That's who I have a fight with. And people are like taking high-priced thing. They are doing high-priced training program with no result. All they give you is a rectangular yellow certificate with your name on it. Don't look for certification. Look for real education that Chris gives, that I give, and so many of people give you. And that's what I want to do, because now I help people so that they can help, Chris. I help people because they can help my family's next generation when I'm not here. I'm fighting with these people who are cheating money, cheating people. My question to your listeners, Chris, is who are you fighting with?
The government. Usually what we're doing, and the answer to that question is usually we're fighting with ourselves. I mean, I tell people we're our own worst enemy. It's like we get caught up in, we do something wrong, we beat ourselves up for it for weeks and years and lifetimes, and it's crazy. It's like you screwed up, you paid the price, now move on and let yourself go. It's tremendous.
Exactly.
And I just got to thank you so much for the gifts. For those of you guys, well, now you're going to be listening to it on the podcast. go there and take advantage of Bishal's generosity. I'll make sure this is on the show page also. So I'll go back and update this information with your contact information. So if people go into the show page, they can see it. The people going to get the podcast can hear it. And I just want to thank you again so much, my friend, for being on the show and taking your valuable time and getting up early in the morning to be here. I'm just hoping and wishing and praying that because I've never really gone over before, that it's still recording, because I'm looking at my studio software and it looks like it's still going. So I'm going to check it after it goes to podcast about an hour from now. So I'll check it out. But again, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I know someday we're going to be sharing a stage together, whether it's here in the U.S. or there in India. I just want to keep the conversation going. I appreciate all your support, and you have my support 100%. And I just want to say thank you again for giving just an absolutely tremendous amount of content tonight. You truly rocked it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. I want to wish you all the best for the webinar that you have recently, and I wish you all the best for the bootcamp that you're going to do, KICKASS Bootcamp. And, had an excellent time with you. Sometime we are going to meet and share the stage, but until I meet you listeners, I just want to remind you just one thing, that it's not about perfection. It's all about connection.
Absolutely, baby. Absolutely. And for since you did mention it, for those of you guys that are listening to the podcast, and if you listen to it now before Wednesday, go ahead and go to my website, ChristopherRoush.com, RAUSCH, ChristopherRoush.com. You can go to the About page, and you can sign up to get the webinar details. It's a free webinar for an hour where I'm going to teach you how to set kick-ass goals. And like Bishal said as well, I've got my upcoming event coming here in Southern California, May 3rd and May 4th. You can go get tickets today. And, again, the coupon code is ROCKSTAR. You get $100 off either of the general admission or the VIP ticket. And I'm even going to make it sweeter because you listen to the podcast. This is the way I'm going to know you listen to the podcast. You can bring a friend for free. So all I want you to do is go ahead and sign up for that boot camp, and I want you to put in the general information area, Chris said I could bring a friend for free, because then I know you listen to it here on the podcast. You stuck with us for an hour and a half, and you're a kick-ass person. So until next week, I want to say thank you to all my listeners. You guys are awesome. If you have an idea for a guest or a show, send me an email at info@thekickassradioshow.com. And again, if you have an idea or a show guest, send us an email there. We'll go ahead and take a look, and we'll interview them, and we'll have them on the show if they fit the kick-ass lifestyle. So until next week, Bishal, my friends, all of you guys out there in the kick-ass world, rock on and have a great week.